Okay, we are going live here, and I just want to check and make sure that my lip sync is good. And what the plan for today is I don't have a lot of time today because I've got my school board budget hearing virtually tonight, so I've got to get on that. And I just want to make sure that my lip sync is working properly here too. So let me just play this back on the Amazon side. All right. Just want to make sure that my lip sync is working properly here too. Looks like it's working. Good. Okay. So what we are going to be doing is we've got my daughter's iPad back out again, and sorry, I'm just looking. What? Good, perfect. Okay, I was just checking my lip sync on my stream coming back to me. Sometimes when I start streaming, the lip sync isn't working too great. All right, so let me get rid of the audio on that. All right, now, so here's the deal. If you've got an iPad, even the low-cost ones here, today they work with trackpads with the new iOS update. So check it out. You get this really cool-looking mouse cursor here that hops around the screen. And it has different velocities depending on what you're clicking on, and then it will like get sticky over stuff. So here, let me show you. I'm just experimenting with my different views. So let me show you this one. This one might be a little bit easier to see. So as I put the, oops, we're onto my TV screen, just went out. As I put the mouse, I think I just turned off my, yeah, I did. As I put the mouse over the thing here, you can see as I'm moving it, it gets kind of caught, which is good because it makes it easier for a kid, especially if they're struggling to learn the mouse. Like it'll hover kind of over the icon a little bit, so you have a little bit of movement here as it's going. And what's cool is that this is working with third-party stuff and with first-party. So you've got the Magic Trackpad here, which I'll demo in a few minutes. And what I'm doing right now as we live stream is I am shooting a video that will air maybe tonight. We'll see how quickly I can get it up. Probably would be good to get this up soon because it's kind of a breaking story. So if you want this feature, this is not a hack or anything else. This is just a feature now of iOS. It's built in. And if you update your iPad, even the cheap one, you get this right now. You don't have to buy the $300 thing that they're coming up with. You just do it now. Now, as you're going to see, there are things that Apple hardware will allow you to do that you can't do with third-party hardware. There's going to be a few gestures that we're going to look at in a little bit. But by and large, as you can see here, we're able to get all this stuff going. And I could click on Safari down here and do all of that. The problem, though, is that the two-finger pinch, the zoom doesn't work on third-party. But if you bring in your first-party Apple Magic Trackpad, of course it works. So that's where they get you. So give me 1 second, folks, because I am just going to get a couple things set up here. And we're going to record this live as I do the video. So I just want to make sure my phone is ready. Okay, the phone is ready. And I'm using the phone here to track the Amazon chat. And I want to add another item to the Amazon thing here, the Magic Trackpad. And let's add that to the mix. All right, and we got that in there too. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to return to the live stream, and we'll get going here. Okay, so let's go over to, I think we'll start on the iPad itself because we are demoing the lowest cost iPad there is. And I already shot my intro. And I think what I want to do is give a couple of different keyboard examples that work with it. All right, so we're going to switch over to this camera. And I've got a bunch of people that have popped in. I'm sure you are all locked down in your homes as I am, so we're good. Audio is good, everybody. Excellent. All my regulars are here. So we got Cedar Lake and Mark Richardson and Martin Paolini is here. Robert Hitchens is here. He's got the same keyboard. This is the K830 from Logitech. And I like this one a lot, and you'll hear why this might be a good pairing with the iPad, because you don't need another dongle. It works over Bluetooth. So I think this might be the good one to work with. So I would recommend that. Let's have a little sip of coffee here. Yeah, we'll take a look at the tracking here once we get into it. It's actually pretty good. I think they, what's neat about Apple is that they tend not to make a change to their interface unless they know they can get it to work properly and better. So I'm finding that it does seem to work pretty good, even on the third-party thing here. You can also see how the mouse pointer kind of morphs from, let me switch over here. It kind of morphs from a circle to a text selection, and you can kind of select things. The only thing I'm not crazy about, I should just start recording this. The only thing I'm not crazy about is that when you hit the right mouse button here to copy, it's a little, you have to kind of move the mouse over to that spot, whereas on the Mac or Windows, the window will pop up under the mouse pointer. So that's one thing to do. So let me just, I'm just trying to get myself organized thought-wise, and then we'll kick things off. Because I want to talk about some things that work with it as well. So that might be something we need to look at too. So let me get this shot going here. And I think I'm just going to do an explainer. Again, I am recording this as I live stream, trying to, kind of do two things at once. And then we'll go from there. Okay. So someone on the Amazon chat has an unrelated question. Sony TV with a Fire Stick and Amazon Prime. When trying to watch movies under Prime, constantly runs into slow sound. One time, shut off the TV. I don't know. I'm not sure I can help with that one. I don't know what Sony TV it is, or which Fire Stick. It could be that we just have a lot of people watching content this week. Okay. All right, so I'm going to talk about the keyboards first, and then we'll get into some other stuff. I couldn't find the USB connector for my daughter's iPad, so I'll have to roll in some B-roll. 3, 2, 1. All right, so let's talk about what some of your options are for connecting keyboards and trackpads and mice to your iPad. What I found so far in playing around with this is that even on the lowest cost iPad, this one here, you're able to get all of this stuff to work. Bluetooth keyboards and trackpads and mice work along with USB keyboards and mice and trackpads, but you need an adapter on just about every iPad to make it work. They sell this Lightning to USB adapter. I think I want to be more clear. Let me start this again. That's part of the challenge with this, is trying to explain this very simply. 3, 2, 1. So to get all of this stuff working, all you need is a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse. What I've got here is a Logitech K830. This is a fairly inexpensive device that will work with its own USB dongle, but it's also Bluetooth compatible. And this will save you a little bit of money because it will connect to the iPad wirelessly with no other adapters needed. If you want to use something that requires USB, you will need to get an adapter for most of the iPads that are out there. So if you have the top-end, newest iPad Pro, those have USB Type-C connectors. You're usually okay with those. But on the other iPads that have the Lightning connector, you need a USB to Lightning adapter. And there's a lot of them available. I'll put some links to those in the video description so you can find them. And I found that whatever I've plugged into my iPad is working with this new update. So, I think I want to start from scratch here because I'm not explaining how to get this working. So let me start this again. B. Tabalba is here as well. Welcome. All right, let me start this. I'm just trying to get my thoughts organized. This all came up like a few minutes ago because I wasn't even sure I was going to do any streaming today, and then this keyboard thing dropped, and I said, I got to get on this. So that's what I'm trying to work out as I shoot here. 3, 2, 1. All right, so to get all of this to work, what you need to do first is download the latest iPad OS update. It's 13.4. If you go into your system settings, you can see if the update is available for your particular iPad. And I think this should work across just about any iPad that supports the current version of iPad OS. Once that installation is done, if you connect up a mouse or a trackpad to your iPad, it will start working here without any other settings. It's been working pretty well for me. Now, what I'm using right now is a Logitech K830. And what I like about this keyboard is that it can connect via Bluetooth, so you don't need any other adapters. It's completely wireless. It has a backlit keyboard as well, so if your kids are using this in a darker room or something, the keyboard will illuminate. I reviewed this a couple of years ago. We use this all the time here on the channel. It is a great keyboard trackpad combo, really good for home theater folks too. It's a very versatile device. And what they give you is the option to connect via Bluetooth or using one of its USB dongles. Now you also have the option to connect things up via USB to your iPad. If you have one of the newer iPad Pros that have the USB Type-C connector, you can get a small USB-C hub to work with whatever keyboard and mouse you're connecting. But if you want to connect USB to an older iPad, one of the non-Pros, actually it's not older because even the new ones are kind of in that bucket. So let's cut this right here. Give me a second, folks. A little disorganized today because I'm not rushing, but I was not planning on doing this until about 20 minutes ago, so I didn't do all my usual show prep before I got into this. So intro on keyboard compatibility. And I think what I want to do, I'm just going to play this back real quick, and we can figure out. All right, so to get all of this to work, what you need to do first is download the latest iPad OS update. It's 13.4. If you go into your system settings, you can see if the update is available for your particular iPad. And I think this should work across just about any iPad that supports the current version of iPad OS. Once that installation is done, if you connect up a mouse or a trackpad to your iPad, it will start working here without any other settings. It's been working pretty well for me. Now what I'm using right now is a Logitech K830. And what I like about this keyboard is that it can connect via Bluetooth, so you don't need any other adapters. It's completely wireless. It has a backlit keyboard as well, so if your kids are using this in a darker room or something, the keyboard will illuminate. I reviewed this a couple of years ago. We use this all the time here on the channel. It is a great keyboard trackpad combo, really good for home theater folks too. It's a very versatile device. And what they give you is the option to connect via Bluetooth or using one of its USB dongles. Now you also have the option to connect things up via USB to your iPad. If you have one of the newer iPad Pros that have the USB Type-C connector, you can get a small USB-C hub to work with whatever keyboard and mouse you're connecting. But if you want to connect USB to an older iPad, one of the non-Pros. All right, so that's where I gotta listen to this again. Hang on, let's get the other keyboard here. You can get a small USB-C hub to work with whatever keyboard and mouse you're connecting. Okay, so we're going to go right there. So let's listen to that one more time. USB-C hub to work with whatever keyboard and mouse you're connecting. But if you want to connect USB to an older... Okay, there we go. All right. 3, 2, 1. But if you want to connect USB up to another iPad, let me start that again. 3, 2, 1. But if you want to connect up USB to another iPad that's not a Pro, you'll need the Lightning to USB adapter. And those will run you anywhere from $15 to $30 depending on where you buy it. So my advice would be to go with a Bluetooth device just so you don't have to carry another dongle around with you, and it will work exactly the same way. Now, there are some things that will only work properly with Apple hardware. So a little later, we're going to check out the Magic Trackpad here and see some of the things that we can't do on one of these third-party trackpads at the moment. My hope is that over time, Apple will certify more devices that are not their own to allow for some of this stuff, but you won't get the full experience unless you've got one of the more expensive Apple trackpads at the moment. I've tried a bunch today, and the Apple one is the only one that does everything that you might want to do with the trackpad. So just keep that in mind. They're still doing a pretty good job of making you look at their accessories or the accessories they're connecting a licensing fee on. But the experience here is pretty good, and we're going to dive into that now and see some examples of how the trackpad works on the iPad. Okay, there we go. So, yeah, so in case anyone's wondering, I do this a lot. I shoot my videos while I stream. And that way, if you don't want to sit through an hour of me fiddling with stuff, you can just watch the recording when we edit, get it all edited together. But a lot of folks really like the workflow. So I think that that works. It's kind of a little disjointed for people that aren't used to seeing me live because this is a very different experience. And we're going to call this keyboard trackpad options. Okay. And I think I'm going to just put this one away because it's not going to be, this is not going to be the best option for most folks. This is the least expensive option, by the way. So if you're watching on Amazon, I'm just going to put this up real quick. If you are watching on Amazon, let me find the spot here. Where did I put it? I think I thought I had it on here. This one's about $25, but it doesn't do Bluetooth. You have to use its USB dongle. So it is wireless, but it's not Bluetooth wireless. And I wonder if I need to remind people of that. You know, I think I might do that. And I could cut that in with this shot here. So let's do that real quick. Because not everybody has, like people see wireless and they automatically think Bluetooth, and that's not going to be the case. So let's talk about this real quick. And I'll figure out where we can put this in. I'm going to keep this shot for both the opening and ending so I can slide this into the edit somewhere. We're actually going to have Jake figure that out. We'll see. It depends how much time I've got when I'm done here. All right. Okay. Cedar Lake says, an update on USB-C. Cables are getting confusing. Yeah, they're not getting any simpler than yet, unfortunately. I might need to do something about that. And thank you for the super chat, by the way, Cedar Lake. Very much appreciated. All right, let me start on here real quick. 3, 2, 1. Now, when you're out shopping for a keyboard and trackpad device, be sure to know whether or not it actually supports Bluetooth. So, for example, this Logitech K400 is wireless, but it's not Bluetooth. It does require a USB connector. So if I open up the back of this thing here, you'll see that it does have this little radio receiver that is required for it to work. So this will not connect up without a USB adapter on your iPad. And if you are looking for something that doesn't require an adapter at all, again, the K800 here, the K830, that's K830, isn't it? Let's see. This is the K830, and this is the K400 Plus. Okay, one more time. Let's get this going again. All right, one more time. Yeah, we're going to be very disjointed today, so because again, I am just kind of, so usually what I do is I put together these really detailed cheat sheets of everything I'm going to be working on and all the stuff that I want to cover. And I wasn't actually planning to shoot anything today because I've got a bunch of stuff to prepare for tonight. And I have a meeting tonight that we're streaming for my town. And I was focused on, my headspace was there. But I said, I could get this done quick, in an hour. But now I'm regretting that because I haven't planned appropriately. So I'm just kind of swinging wildly here. 3, 2, 1. Now, one thing to be aware of is not all wireless keyboards and mice are actually Bluetooth. So, for example, one more time, 3, 2, 1. Now, one thing to keep in mind is not all keyboards and trackpads that are wireless support Bluetooth. So, for example, this fairly low-cost Logitech K400 is wireless, but it does require a USB port on your iPad to work because it needs this little receiver to communicate with the host device. So the K800 here, shoot, what is this? The K830, one more time. Good Lord. Let me start one more time, and we'll get this going. Sorry, everybody. This is me fiddling around with my daily workflow, so you'll see how you'll really appreciate this when it's done. All right, one more time. 3, 2, 1. Now, one thing to keep in mind is not all wireless keyboards and trackpads support Bluetooth. So, for example, this very low-cost Logitech K400 is wireless, but you do need to have its USB dongle here attached to the iPad for it to work. And therefore, you'll be spending more money to get this keyboard and trackpad working because you will need that USB adapter or a USB hub on the iPad Pro. The K830 here, because it supports Bluetooth, will work without any other adapters. And it actually comes with one of those USB adapters if you'd prefer to use that. So you do have kind of the best of both worlds here with the K830. All right, I think that'll work. You know what I'm going to do? I hate to say this, but I think I'm going to reshoot the whole segment because I am not satisfied piecing this together, and I want to make this make sense for consumers. Because this is a very confusing thing because they're going to go out and buy this wireless keyboard and they're going to come home and they're not going to be able to get their iPad to work. And right now with, all these, I can tell you I'm a parent that's like, my kids are all over me all day long. We got to keep them learning. We need to get this right. So let's start again here. And let's get it right this time. Okay, hang on a second, folks. Sorry for that we're not moving quicker through this, but this is how the sausage is made, as they say. All right, one more time. 3, 2, 1. So now to get all of this working, what you need is a Bluetooth keyboard or trackpad. I'm going to start one more time. 3, 2, 1. Now in order to get all of this working, I do recommend looking for Bluetooth keyboards and mice. And what I've got here is the Logitech K830. This is one of my favorite combo devices. I use it all the time. I've owned this for probably about 4 or 5 years. And what's nice about this is that it will give the iPad the trackpad and the keyboard over Bluetooth without any other adapters needed. You do get a little USB transceiver in the box with this, but it's not required. And it will really get up and running for you very quickly, and it's nice to have everything in one package. What's also cool about this is that the keyboard is backlit, so in a darker environment, it will light up. It's actually pretty decently comfortable to type on as well. I really, really like this one quite a bit. Now, one thing you need to be careful about are other wireless keyboards that don't support Bluetooth. So for example, this one from Logitech, this is their K400 Plus. It's very inexpensive, but it requires that USB receiver to work. And therefore, you would need some way to plug USB into your iPad in order to get it working, even though it is wireless, because it does not support Bluetooth. So you'll pay a little more for this, but you won't have to buy an adapter like you would with this one. So it probably will wash out on cost. And I think that's probably the best way to go with this. Now, there are Lightning to USB adapters for the iPad. So if you do have an existing keyboard and mouse that you want to use, you can get one of those. But if you have a keyboard with a USB connector and a mouse with a USB connector, you're going to then need to get a hub to plug multiple devices in, and this can get super complicated. So to keep your life simple, my advice is get the combo trackpad device like this one that supports Bluetooth, and you're good to go. Now, as you'll see in a few minutes, there are some things that you can't do on a third-party device that you can do on the more expensive Apple devices, and I will show you some of the things that don't work so you can make your best decision here. But so far, for my kids at least, I think this is going to work just fine, and it won't break the bank. I think that was a good take. What do you all think about that? I'm going to play this back real quick. And we have a new member. I want to thank our new member, which is Travis Rhodes. Excellent, Travis. Thank you for joining the membership level, or the membership club. All right, let me just play this back real quick for you all, and let's see what happens. Yeah, it's been very challenging here with the kids. The school is starting up. We started yesterday with remote learning, and the teachers. It's fun to watch how this is all developing. So it was fun to watch the teachers. We have 2 kids in school. So we have my daughter's in the public preschool, and my other daughter, my older one, is in first grade. And it's been fun to watch the teachers kind of figuring out how to get Google Classroom to work and all this stuff. And I am amazed by the versatility of the iPad, and I'm really happy with that, with the fact that Apple released this update today, because we were just getting my daughter going, and now that she can kind of use the iPad like a computer when she's sitting down to do her work, I think it's going to be really good. Think about it for coding and all that stuff, you know, because I'm always, I have an iPad Pro, I use it quite a bit, but there's stuff where I just want to grab that mouse, and now I can, which is really good. All right, so we're going to call this 202 Intro and Recommendations. All right. And hopefully that take made sense to everybody. I'm going to play that back real quick because I want you all to let me know what you think. And let me do that real quick. And I'm just going to rename the other one that I did so that I don't confuse myself later. Okay, so let's play this back. All right. Oops, I already got that on there. Okay, let me play this back. I'm just going to watch it, make sure I'm happy. Now, in order to get all of this working, I do recommend looking for Bluetooth keyboards and mice. And what I've got here is the Logitech K830. This is one of my favorite combo devices. I use it all the time. I've owned this for probably about 4 or 5 years. And what's nice about this is that it will give the iPad the trackpad and the keyboard over Bluetooth without any other adapters needed. You do get a little USB transceiver in the box with this, but it's not required. And it will really get up and running for you very quickly, and it's nice to have everything in one package. What's also cool about this is that the keyboard is backlit, so in a darker environment, it will light up. It's actually pretty decently comfortable to type on as well. I really, really like this one quite a bit. Now, one thing you need to be careful about are other wireless keyboards that don't support Bluetooth. So for example, this one from Logitech, this is their K400 Plus. It's very inexpensive, but it requires that USB receiver to work, and therefore you would need some way to plug USB into your iPad in order to get it working, even though it is wireless, because it does not support Bluetooth. So you'll pay a little more for this, but you won't have to buy an adapter like you would with this one. So it probably will wash out on cost, and I think that's probably the best way to go with this. Now, there are Lightning to USB adapters for the iPad, so if you do have an existing keyboard and mouse that you want to use, you can get one of those. But if you have a keyboard with a USB connector and a mouse with a USB connector, you're going to then need to get a hub to plug multiple devices in, and this can get super complicated. So to keep your life simple, my advice is get the combo trackpad device like this one that supports Bluetooth, and you're good to go. Now, as you'll see in a few minutes, there are some things that you can't do on a third-party device that you can do on the more expensive Apple devices, and I will show you some of the things that don't work so you can make your best decision here. But so far, for my kids at least, I think this is going to work just fine, and it won't break the bank. All right. Oops. I think that works. All right, so now what we're going to do is we are going to show how the mouse works here. And I got some comments to talk about here. So Jeff Jones says, I have the K400 Non-Plus. The main difference is being the right shift is short and interrupted by the up arrow key. Very annoying. I constantly hit the up arrow key when I want to shift. And it's funny how Lenovo had like a weird design with their keyboards also, and they changed it after all of us influencers were commenting about that. This one's nice. I actually own 2 of them. So this one, which one is which? Yeah, this one is my TriCaster controller. And what's funny is the batteries on this, I just changed them, and I changed them for the first time in like 4.5 years. That's how long it lasted. Every day. It's crazy. And they weren't like totally dead either. It was just like the keyboard was not sending every key command. And then I got this one just to have as a floater. So I hooked this up to the Mister a lot. When I'm on my couch with my gaming PC with that big setup we did, I use it for that as well. So it's really, these are great. I mean, I'm going to probably buy another one just to have one around because they're so useful. And what I really like about them is the fact that there's a place to store the dongle, because the K830 doesn't have a place to store its dongle, and we're constantly losing the dongle around here. So that's been difficult. I'm just going to fix my view here. And I'm just going to adjust the auto lock on this so that it doesn't keep shutting off until we're done here. My daughter's going to kill me because if she gets home and this iPad is not available, I'm going to hear about it. She's actually like, it's funny, she's a real mix of my wife and me, so I'm a bit messy and my wife is not. So my daughter is like completely organized, unlike her father. And in the morning, if I leave my stuff out on the bathroom counter, like my shaving cream and stuff, she's like, Daddy, you got to move all that stuff again. It's really kind of funny. Yeah, I think, Jeff, I got the K600 one. The one thing I didn't like about, I think, is that the one with the round mouse on it, the round trackpad? Because that round thing wasn't doing it for me. It wasn't one of my favorite ones. I think the K830 is still like my favorite. And we like I said, we use this a lot here. It's just the most comfortable. It feels nice for what it is. All right, I just want to make one adjustment here to my to camera 5 here because I just want to get a little bit of that border away there. So let's eat that out there a little bit. Eat that away. There we go. Okay, and then we'll do the right side. Get that trimmed up a little bit. There we go. Maybe one more notch over. Yeah, okay. All right. And I recently rigged up an overhead view. I think I did a video showing this to some of you. I can show you what it looks like here real quick if you're curious. I'm just so happy with it. And it just mounts on light poles, so it's not even hard to, I didn't have to like do anything crazy to make it work. So here, let me give you the view. So let's go up to camera 7. I got too many keyboards here. Sorry for the mess, everybody. Let me just turn down my, there we go. Okay. So this is what I'm looking at right now. And then overhead, I got 2 lights and a camera that points straight down. Isn't that cool? And it just is up on these light poles here. Sorry for the mess. I've really got to clean up this place. I say it all the time. And it goes back that far. But it's really nice. I'm really, really happy with this because it gives me that overhead view that I was missing. My only gripe is with the camera. It's got a weird distortion when it's out wide. So things don't look quite right, but it's the same camera that I have on, I have 3 identical cameras. These are JVC something or others. If you're curious, I'll let you know. But I'm really, really happy with how that's working. Oops, sorry. Just cut back here. So yeah, a little tour of the studio. Mark Richardson wants to know, do you think the market is friendly towards indie tech startups? I think it depends on what it is you are starting up. If you're doing, it's going to be hard to like beat YouTube at this point or beat Amazon, right? But you could, I think the best ones are the ones that leverage the existing platforms and provide and bring value that the platforms are unable to provide. Yeah, everything is messy down here. It's the only thing I got to really work on is just organization, which is not my strong suit, as I mentioned. So, all right, let's jump into the basics, and then we'll dive into some more stuff here. All right, so let me hit the recorder. 3, 2, 1. All right, so let's jump in and see what this mouse thing looks like. Now you'll notice we don't have a traditional mouse pointer. We've got a little circle here that moves around, and it will do different things depending on what we are hovering over. So for example, if I put it over an app here, you can see that it kind of sticks to it, and as I move my finger around, it'll stay on the app. So if you have trouble with trackpads and getting a lot of precision, you don't have to worry about it because it kind of will stick to that icon there and give you a second chance to lock your fingers in the right place. And I think I need to explain that a little better. 3, 2, 1. All right, so here we are. This is the trackpad here working on the iPad. And you'll notice that we don't have a traditional mouse pointer. We've got this little circle. And what's cool is that things will be different depending on what you're hovering over. It's not just a single static arrow. It will behave differently and change its appearance. So for example, if I get it close to an app, it will kind of lock onto the app. And then I've got a little bit of leeway here too. So if you struggle with trackpads, this will give you a little bit of a margin of error to play with here, because you can see as I'm moving my finger around a little bit, the mouse pointer isn't leaving that app icon. It's only when I really go further away from it that it does, and that's really been kind of a neat experience. You can also, of course, click on apps down here in the taskbar. The same behavior applies, and you can just kind of run your finger back and forth between the apps as you go from one to the other. If we load up the Safari browser, you can see things pop up here. I am noticing a couple little glitchy things, like it's zooming in on the page when I first click on it. And if I use 2 fingers here to scroll, that works. On the third-party products here, like the Logitech, it doesn't feel as smooth as it does on an Apple version, but it does work. But one thing that doesn't work here is the pinch to zoom, as you can see. It gets all confused, and I'll show you what does work on the Apple trackpad in a minute. So that was my big disappointment, because this trackpad does support pinch to zoom on the Mac and on Windows, but it doesn't seem to be doing that here. And that, of course, will be an issue if that's something you need to do all the time on your iPad. You can, of course, go back to the screen and do that, but that kind of defeats the purpose of having a mouse. One thing you'll notice, though, is that as I hover over text, it will convert into a different style pointer. So it goes from a circle to a line. And then I can go through here and just kind of select some text. I could right-click on my right mouse button here. That'll pull up the dialog to do copy, lookup, or share. There's also some gestures that you can do, but I've been having a hard time getting those to work even on the Apple Trackpad. And this is still the first day that this has been released, so I'm sure they'll improve some of these gestures over time. Now, like the icons we saw before, as your mouse hovers over the words here, it will kind of stick to the options, so you don't have to be completely precise all the time, which is really, really nice. But the one thing I noticed is that if I select an area of text here, and then just put my mouse here in the middle and right-click, what will happen is it will put the dialog here at the top still. So you do have to move your mouse up to select the option you're looking for. On Mac OS and Windows, when you do that right-click, it will usually put that dialog right underneath the mouse. So a couple of little things to get used to here, but so far, so good. All right, I think that was a good run. Kind of the basics, and then we'll look at some text editing. I've got to look at just a couple of other things that I had in my, I did have some notes that I took before I started. And let me play this back real quick and just see how it came out. 3, 2, 1. All right, so let's jump in and see what this mouse thing looks like. Now you'll notice we don't have a traditional mouse pointer. We've got a little circle here that moves around. And it will do different things depending on what we are hovering over. So for example, if I put it over an app here, you can see that it kind of sticks to it. And as I move my finger around, it'll stay on the app. So if you have trouble with trackpads and getting a lot of precision, you don't have to worry about it because it kind of will stick to that icon there and give you a second chance to lock your fingers in the right place. And I think I need to explain it a little better. 3, 2, 1. All right, so here we are. This is the trackpad here working on the iPad, and you'll notice that we don't have a traditional mouse pointer. We've got this little circle, and what's cool is that things will be different depending on what you're hovering over. It's not just a single static arrow. It will behave differently and change its appearance. So for example, if I get it close to an app, it will kind of lock onto the app, and then I've got a little bit of leeway here too. So if you struggle with trackpads, this will give you a little bit of a margin of error to play with here, because you can see as I'm moving my finger around a little bit, the mouse pointer isn't leaving that app icon. It's only when I really go further away from it that it does, and that's really been kind of a neat experience. You can also, of course, click on apps down here in the taskbar. The same behavior applies, and you can just kind of run your finger back and forth between the apps as you go from one to the other. If we load up the Safari browser, you can see things pop up here. I am noticing a couple little glitchy things, like it's zooming in on the page when I first click on it. And if I use 2 fingers here to scroll, that works. On the third-party products here, like the Logitech, it doesn't feel as smooth as it does on an Apple version, but it does work. But one thing that doesn't work here is the pinch to zoom, as you can see. It gets all confused, and I'll show you what does work on the Apple trackpad in a minute. So that was my big disappointment, because this trackpad does support pinch to zoom on the Mac and on Windows, but it doesn't seem to be doing that here. And that, of course, will be an issue if that's something you need to do all the time on your iPad. You can, of course, go back to the screen and do that, but that kind of defeats the purpose of having a mouse. One thing you'll notice, though, is that as I hover over text, it will convert into a different style pointer. So it goes from a circle to a line. And then I can go through here and just kind of select some text. I could right-click on my right mouse button here. That'll pull up the dialog to do copy, lookup, or share. There's also some gestures that you can do, but I've been having a hard time getting those to work even on the Apple trackpad. And this is still the first day that this has been released, so I'm sure they'll improve some of these gestures over time. Now, like the icons we saw before, as your mouse hovers over the words here, it will kind of stick to the options, so you don't have to be completely precise all the time, which is really, really nice. But the one thing I noticed is that if I select an area of text here, and then just put my mouse here in the middle and right-click, what will happen is it will put the dialog here at the top still. So you do have to move your mouse up to select the option you're looking for. On Mac OS and Windows, when you do that right-click, it will usually put that dialog right underneath the mouse. So a couple little things to get used to here, but so far, so good. All right. So now I'm going to jump over to Notepad, where I've got some stuff going here. And what's cool, I think it's kind of cool. And what I don't know, let me check something here, because I'm curious how it does with like other apps that are not like ready for this yet. So let me look up, let me try her Joy Doodle app. I'm just curious if it supports that. Oh yeah, look at that, it does work. And does this work? Let's see. Yeah, cool. All right. So maybe we'll talk about that. That's something to talk about. And let's see what else could... That's pretty neat that it's actually kind of replicating a finger push. I'm guessing that they got that from... Because there was an accessibility feature that did work with this before, so that that's kind of neat. All right, so let's go back to the home screen here, and let's play around a little bit more with that. 3, 2, 1. Now, it also appears to work with apps that might not yet have... I'm not sure I want to explain that. Let's try to figure that out again here real quick. Flood of Sins is here. Welcome. I'm going to move this other keyboard out of the way because I keep pushing the wrong keys on it, and it's throwing me off. Let's see. I'm just looking for some of your comments there. Jeff Jones says it's kind of funky looking. Yeah, it is a little funky looking. I like it, though, because it's... I think I really like how Apple thinks about this stuff. Like, they're like, how do we make this really work right? You know, I think that makes a lot of sense, how they've done it. And I just remembered... I wanted to do a little Instagram thing here. Let me just do that real quick. So let me just take a picture. I haven't used Instagram on this phone in a while. But yeah, it's, you know, they really kind of reimagined it. And by the way, if you're wondering why I've got this pink iPad, it's because it's my daughter's. And I really like using this one because this is like the low cost. This is the lowest price iPad out there. This is the one that everyone's going to use. So that's the kind of stuff that I like to kind of demo on here. All right, so let's cut back to me. And we're going to talk about how it works in other applications too. So we'll go to like Joy Doodle here. And let's just back up. Actually, I wonder if I could do the... See, what's weird, though, is like some of these gestures that they say are working. So, for example, on the Apple Trackpad, it's supposed to, if I hit, let's see what it says here. Let me back up here. So the Trackpad Support. Pinch to zoom, which we can do on the Apple Trackpad. The right click, obviously. Dock, Control Center, Notifications, swipe between pages. Mouse and Trackpad. I'm just looking through here. Maybe I got confused. Okay. All right, so move the cursor over to the right edge of the screen to see slide over. Okay, so, oh, I didn't really put anything there. Oh, if you just put it up in that corner, it pops up. Does it do that with this one? Okay. Yes, you put to the right edge of the screen to see slide over. Swipe left and right with 3 fingers to switch between apps, which I'll show on the other device. Let me just back out to here and just see how that works. So if I put it over here, I see if you're in an app, it does that. Okay. It's all very confusing. I think they'll figure it out. All right, so let me just go. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just go and kill this app completely. And we'll go to Joy Doodle. Okay. All right, let's try this one more time. Test, test, test. 3, 2, 1. And it also appears to be friendly to apps that were designed before this trackpad feature came out. So let's take a look at one that I know it probably doesn't have direct support for trackpad, which is Joy Doodle here. And if I go over to New, just with the trackpad, and select the icon there, you can see everything pops up. I can start drawing on here like I would if I had a pencil or just was using the screen. So that's pretty cool. and then all of these buttons work too. Now, unlike the Apple example I was showing you before on the dock, these icons aren't sticky. It's what I want to say. Let's try that again. Sorry, everybody. I think I need more coffee. That might work, right? And in case you're tuning in and wondering what the heck is going on here, why does he keep talking about the same things over and over again? It's because you are watching me shoot a video live. Isn't that cool? As I enjoy my cup of joe here in my Cape Cod mug. My Mario pipe mug is in the dishwasher, so you'll see that again on a future live stream. All right, let's try this again. 3, 2, 1. Now I'm finding it does, one more time, 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Now I'm finding it does work with apps that don't directly support the trackpad. In other words, perhaps older apps that were designed before this feature came out. And in that case, the trackpad will kind of work like your finger would. So let's load up Joy Doodle here. This is an app that my daughter uses to make pictures. It's kind of pretty cool. Kind of pretty cool. Really? Let's try that again. And I think I want to show like the whole progression of using the app here. And we'll go from there. That's right, Rich, you are watching the tech sausage getting produced right in front of your eyes. And it's not always pretty. All right. Let me go back over to my Amazon chat here. And we'll just select the iPad that we're talking about. 3, 2, 1. Now it also works with apps that may not yet have direct support for the trackpad. It will largely mimic the actions that your finger might be taking on screen. So if we load up Joy Doodle here, which is an older app that my daughter plays around with, and just click New, you can see I can draw pictures on here using my trackpad, just like she would if she was actually touching the screen, as you can see here. So it's got a lot of that functionality. Now what I'm noticing though is that when I go down to these buttons here, the mouse is not sticking to the button. So this will be something that I'm guessing these developers will have to adapt for the trackpad in order to get those buttons to be stickier. But nonetheless, it does seem to be working just fine, even though there's no direct trackpad support here. What you can also do is pull up the dock if you just move your mouse to the lower portion of the screen, just like you can do on the Mac. And you can switch apps that way. So we could go back to Safari, for example, and just switch back if we wanted to do that. So all sorts of cool stuff here that you can do with the trackpad and largely kind of mimic what you might be able to do on a regular computer. And the timing for this couldn't be better because, of course, my kids are home remote learning right now. So it's good to have a fully functional keyboard with the low-cost iPad here. A couple other little things worth taking a look at before we look at how the Apple branded trackpads work with it. If you go to the upper left-hand corner here, you can pull down your notifications and get all that going. On the upper right-hand corner, you can select your little pull-down menu for some of your other features like the brightness and some of the other little things that you might be adjusting in there. If you are in-app, like on the web browser here, if you just move your mouse pointer to the upper, maybe that doesn't work. Hang on a second. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what all these different things will do. Let's start. I think I want to shoot that segment again too, by the way. So I was going off on a tangent. Supposedly it detects addresses, but I don't see it doing that. Because I've got a full address here and it doesn't seem to be doing what it was supposed to do. All right, let's try this one more time and then I'll go and look at the other stuff. Because when I was in Joy Doodle, what it was doing, if I put the mouse just at the top of the screen, it pulled down the... see, it's doing that without a click. Maybe you have to kind of move it up more. Okay, yeah, if you push it, you have to kind of nudge it up. That's how you do it. And if I nudge it up, there I get the notifications. Okay. All right. So let's go over to the screen here again, and we'll start one more time. Mark Richardson wants to know if the Lenovo tablets are compatible with the Apple pens. No, I don't think so. I think they've got some proprietary thing going on, so you would need to use a pen that's compatible. There is a new pen format, though, that I've been following. It was on that Chromebook that we looked at the other day from HP. So we have to see if that's something that's doable. All right, let me start again here. Sorry, everybody. I know I'm doing a lot of repeats today. 3, 2, 1. Now, one of the cool things about this is that it doesn't require the app to directly support the new trackpad feature. So if we take a look at an app that I know doesn't work here, this is called Joy Doodle. It will act, it doesn't work, it's not the right word. Hang on. Sorry, everybody. I'm having a bad day. Let me start again. You know what it is? It's the fact that like my whole life is just not, like I work from home all the time, so this is not a change, but having the kids around, and you know, the whole routine is not what we're used to, so it's just taken a little bit of time to get everybody accustomed to our current situation. All right, let me start again, and I need to get that 2 up going there too. Okay, there we go. 3, 2, 1. Now, the app doesn't need to require trackpad support to work, and I'll show you an example of that. This app here is called Joy Doodle, and this is something my daughter plays with quite a bit. I know this doesn't have direct trackpad support because it's an older app, but as you can see here, I can put the mouse pointer over an icon and get things working. I can draw here on screen, and all of that seems to be working here with the trackpad, just like it would if I were to use my finger on screen. The only difference I'm noticing here in the interface is that if I put my mouse pointer over one of these icons in the app, it doesn't stick to them. So it's more of a traditional computer experience here with the icons. So I'm sure over time, what will happen here is the developer will work to get these icons functional perhaps with the trackpad, but in the interim, everything just works here. I can click on that undo, for example, and get all the same functionality I would if I was pushing the screen. A couple other cool things to take a look at here. If you go up to the top of the screen and kind of push up, it'll push down your notifications. If I do that on the right side of the screen here, you've got your slide over menu for some of the brightness and volume controls and stuff. So you can really get at a lot of the controls here without ever touching the screen, which I think is pretty cool. Now, if you load up an app that is prepared for our new trackpad functionality, if I go into Notes, for example, you'll see that when I go up to the icons here, it will get sticky as we get up to the top, which is pretty neat. So that seems to be working well. So I think a lot of the native Apple apps will have some real good direct support for this, and that will include Safari as well. But some of the other apps might take a little bit of time to get that functionality going. But I do like the way it's working. I wasn't sure watching some of the videos earlier how things were going to be, but it's actually a pretty natural experience, and it's nice to see how Apple implements these features because they really have put some thought into this and how you can best interact with the screen using a trackpad on iPad. Now, the experience, though, is better if you opt for the more expensive Apple trackpads, of course. I've got my Magic Trackpad here. Let me show you how this works. All right, and this is where the gestures come into play, which work a lot better. So let's go into apps here. And let's go to our 2 up here and move the trackpad into position. Okay. Steve McKenzie says he likes watching me screw up. It makes me not feel so bad when he makes dozens of attempts to get the small phrase right in a clip. Yeah, you guys should see. I don't always broadcast live because I tend to do it when I've got a video where I know I won't screw up as much. But it's there's some days where I just cannot get the words out. It's really frustrating. Okay. Yeah, once I get going, too, I'm in a better place. And what's funny is if I'm going for a while, I'll have a little thing in my head saying, okay, you better wrap this up now before you screw it up again. So a lot of times I do that. 'Cause sometimes it's hard to bridge where it goes. And one of the big problems that I have, and I've really slowed down my delivery over the years, but I found that sometimes, or most of the time, one of my words bleeds into the next. So it's hard in editing to find a good cut point. So a lot of times the reason why I play back the footage is I'm listening for where I could start the next clip sort of saying the thing that I ended on the last clip with, to kind of make it more of a smooth transition. And we've done some magical stuff in editing in the past here, but sometimes it's better just to get it right from the start, which is why I'll sometimes say, you know what, I'm just going to do that over again. And a lot of times the second clip does better just because it just comes off better. Okay. All right, so now we're going to show how it works with the, oh, what happened there? That was weird. Okay, so if I go in here, yeah, see this works a lot better. And I think even the scrolling is going to be better here too. Yeah. Now I think I can do this on this track. Yeah, it doesn't work either. Yeah. All right. And then if I do, yeah, so that's a lot smoother. Okay. Maybe I can add a couple tabs here. It might be kind of neat to. We'll do the Lon.TV homepage. That'll work. Cool. That should work. All right. Travis says, don't sweat it. He's horrible at talking on video. Yeah, it takes time. And you know what? There's some days where I'm really good and other days when I'm not so good. And it's just one of those things where you just have to. Okay, here we go. Rich says he's got a voice that's perfect for silent film. I've got a face for radio, so it works, you know, there's always a medium that will work for you. All right, so we're going to pick it up here. And I'm just going to select the Apple Magic Trackpad now. All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, so I've got my Magic Trackpad here connected. This is the one that came with my iMac. And the first thing I'm noticing here is that scrolling is a lot smoother on the Apple device versus the third-party Logitech we were using a few minutes ago. Also, of course, my pinch to zoom here is working properly too. And then you get a lot of cool features that, again, you won't get on some of the third-party products right now. So if I take 2 fingers here and slide to the right here, it'll go back. If I go to the left, it will go forward. So you have some really pretty efficient navigation that you can do here. If I pull my fingers out with a pinch to zoom all the way out, I've got my tab navigation here, and I can jump back and forth between different tabs. If I take 3 fingers and just slide up from the bottom like that, I get back to my home screen here, and I can load up different apps if I want. Pretty much the same functionality here as I'm selecting text as we saw before. One thing that I noticed is that I can hold down, obviously 2 fingers here to get the dialog screen up here, but what I could also do is hold down 3 fingers, and if I kind of pinch downward, sometimes, you see, that's the thing. I'm having a hard time figuring out that I'm getting it to do like this gesture. Let me see if I can figure it out here. Yeah, see that, but then it does that. Let's try this one more time. So that's not what I want. I'm going to skip that because I was able to get it to like move some text around, but maybe I was doing it wrong. Okay, there you go. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, that's cool. All right, let's do that. Let's jump back out of here and start from scratch. Okay. See, it's so much better with the trackpad, like their trackpad. Okay, so here we go. Start one more time. Okay, not a lot of interest in watching this live stream. We did much better the other day with other topics. I guess people aren't into iPad trackpads as I am. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. All right, so now we've got the Apple trackpad attached here, and immediately you'll notice that the scrolling is a lot smoother. It basically feels like I'm on my Mac now versus that other trackpad we were using. 3, 2, 1. All right, so now we've got the Apple Magic Trackpad attached, the much more expensive device, and immediately I'm feeling a big difference here. Scrolling feels a lot more natural. It's kind of like what I feel on my Mac. It's got some other gesture controls that were not working on that Logitech trackpad a minute ago. So for example, if I just take 2 fingers here and go to the right, it will go back to the last page I was looking at. I can do 2 fingers to the left here and get back that way. Pinch to zoom is also working here, so you can go in and out like you would if your fingers were on the screen. You can also pinch to zoom all the way out and get your tab navigation here too. So a lot of the things that you might do on the screen, you can do on the Magic Trackpad here and get a similar experience. Now my keyboard is still working, so you could use a different Bluetooth keyboard, for example, and pair it up with the Magic Trackpad. But it just feels better here. than it did on the third party. And I think if you are doing a lot of these gestures, the Apple one, at the moment at least, is probably going to be the only way to go. Now, if you take 3 fingers and just swipe up, you can get back to your home screen there. You can also take 4 fingers out and just kind of scroll through your different apps here and move around that way. So you have that functionality. Another cool thing I was playing around with in the Notes application here is I could hold down my mouse button here and very accurately drop the text in somewhere else on screen. So you've got that going on. A lot of just overall functionality that just feels a lot more computer-like using the Apple product versus a third party. And again, I hope what they do is license the technology out to people that might make lower cost devices, because sometimes these trackpads can cost about half of what you might pay for one of these low cost iPads. And it's kind of a tough decision here to go out and buy a very expensive trackpad to pair with a very low cost device. So far, I think you're going to do well with an inexpensive trackpad keyboard combo, but you'll be able to do more if you go out and get the official Apple products here to kind of round out the pairing. And again, I hope they make some changes here to make things work a little bit better. But it's great to see this now enabled on these iPads. And for my kids right now who are working from home, as I am, it's great that they now can get a lot of computer functionality out of their iPads and do some of the things that may have been a little less efficient before, more efficiently, without having to keep reaching out the screen to get at stuff. So I'm really excited about this new feature. It couldn't have come at a better time, and I think Apple has very smartly implemented it. And I do hope they add a little bit more support for third-party devices, just because it's a pretty big ask to go out and get these $100 plus trackpads when you can do a lot of this stuff with something that costs a lot less. So we'll come back and take a look at this feature as things develop. Let me know if I missed anything that was really super cool that we should be demoing down in the comments below. And until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching. All right, that ending felt a little weak to me, so I'm going to watch this and then we'll play it back. So I think I got most of what I wanted to talk about here. 205, Magic Trackpad. 3, 2, 1. All right, so now we've got the Apple Magic Trackpad attached, the much more expensive device, and immediately I'm feeling a big difference here. Scrolling feels a lot more natural. It's kind of like what I feel on my Mac. It's got some other gesture controls that were not working on that Logitech trackpad a minute ago. So for example, if I just take 2 fingers here and go to the right, it will go back to the last page I was looking at. I can do 2 fingers to the left here and get back that way. Pinch to zoom is also working here, so you can go in and out like you would if your fingers were on the screen. You can also pinch to zoom all the way out and get your tab navigation here too. So a lot of the things that you might do on the screen you can do on the Magic Trackpad here and get a similar experience. Now my keyboard is still working, so you could use a different Bluetooth keyboard, for example, and pair it up with the Magic Trackpad. But it just feels better here than it did on the third party. And I think if you are doing a lot of these gestures, the Apple one, at the moment at least, is probably going to be the only way to go. Now if you take 3 fingers and just swipe up, you can get back to your home screen there. You can also take 4 fingers out and just kind of scroll through your different apps here and move around that way. So you have that functionality. Another cool thing I was playing around with in the Notes application. We got to do that again. And oops. And I also want to check, because I'm not sure if yes, you can move the text around here without yeah, I want to demo that. All right, we'll come back to that. I got to figure out where to drop that in, because that text thing actually works on. Let's see what we did. We get up to the top, which is pretty neat. So that seems to be working well. So I think a lot of the native Apple apps will have some real good direct support for this, and that will include Safari as well. But some of the other apps might take a little bit of time to get that functionality going. But I do like the way it's working. I wasn't sure watching some of the videos earlier how things were going to be, but it's actually a pretty natural experience, and it's nice to see how Apple implements these features, because they really have put some thought into this and how you can best interact with the screen using a trackpad on iPad. Now the experience though is better if you opt for the more, you know what I might do is That's a pretty funky. I think what I might do here, let's just go back to the overhead. I think what I might do is just kind of reshoot this segment. The problem is it was working until what happened was it's 3 fingers and not 4. So that's why, so I'm going to go and just kill this one and we'll redo it. Yeah, the gestures are just hard. You get so used to them and you forget exactly how to describe them. You just do them. It's a muscle memory thing versus a, all right. Okay, so let's go over to Safari here. 3, 2, 1. All right, so we've got the Magic Trackpad connected. This, of course, is a Bluetooth device, but Apple makes it, so it's going to work better. And if we load up Safari, for example, you can see the scrolling is a lot more accurate. I can more slowly scroll, perhaps, or go very quickly. It just feels a lot smoother. Pinch to zoom works. That looks pretty cool. And then I can take 2 fingers out here, and if I go to the right, it will go back a page. It's like hitting the back button. And likewise, I can go to the left and go up to the page I was just on. If I pinch all the way out, you can go into your tab management here, so you can switch tabs just by clicking here, or you can drag out there or pinch out and get both tabs up on screen like that. What's also cool is I can take 3 fingers here and just drag up from the bottom, and that will bring us back to the home screen here. I could also take 3 fingers and just kind of scroll through my different apps that are running here. So that has a lot of Mac-like functionality and some things that you can also do on the iPad screen as well. If I pull all the way back here, I can get all of the running apps currently. And again, a lot of these gestures don't work on the third-party trackpads at the moment, and I really hope they make some changes to allow that, because it really is a much, much better experience here with the more expensive Apple device. And the problem you run into is when you're on a low-cost iPad, it's kind of a hard thing to justify spending almost as much on your peripherals as you are on your device itself. So I'm hoping they do what they did with some of their Pencil devices by allowing people to license some of the technology so that you can get lower cost devices out there, especially for students who might need some of these gestures for doing their work. One thing I forgot to show you that does work on both trackpads is that when you select an area of text, you can move it around, and it gives you a very precise drop point here. But again, the precision just feels better here on the Apple trackpad, just because they have made the experience better for their own products. So overall, though, it's pretty cool. It seems to be a really nice implementation of the trackpad experience. If you are used to doing a lot of on-screen gestures, if you have the Apple trackpad, it will mirror a lot of those in your daily use. And one of the things that Apple's done very well over the years is trying to find ways to implement features that we're familiar with on a computer to the mobile device. And here I think they've done a good job of that. But my only gripe here is that the third-party low-cost trackpads really don't deliver the same experience as the more expensive Apple products do. That's an ongoing theme with Apple. It's part of the thing you get into when you buy their products. But now that they're offering essentially a budget version of their iPad, let's hope they can provide some budget options for using these trackpads with it. But all that said, I do think something like this is still a good match for a kid to start with. If they start needing some of those gestures, they can go back to the screen, and maybe at some point you can save up some allowance money and get the better trackpad. But really right now, where we're all kind of stuck inside working on our homework and everything without the ability to get at a lot of expensive computer systems, geez, I'm just not doing good here. I think I'm going to cut it right before the conclusion, and that will do it. Part of it is I'm getting ready for another meeting in a little bit. So, it's a virtual meeting, of course, and my head is there and not on my other stuff today. All right, so we're going to call this Magic Trackpad. I think I got most of what I wanted to demo with the trackpad anyhow. So, and let me just play that back real quick, and then we'll move on from there. And let's do that real quick, and let's play this real fast. 3, 2, 1. All right, so we've got the Magic Trackpad connected. This, of course, is a Bluetooth device, but Apple makes it, so it's going to work better. And if we load up Safari, for example, you can see the scrolling is a lot more accurate. I can more slowly scroll, perhaps, or go very quickly. It just feels a lot smoother. pinch to zoom works. That looks pretty cool. And then I can take 2 fingers out here, and if I go to the right, it will go back a page. It's like hitting the back button. And likewise, I can go to the left and go up to the page I was just on. If I pinch all the way out, you can go into your tab management here. So you can switch tabs just by clicking here, or you can drag out there or pinch out and get both tabs up on screen like that. What's also cool is I can take 3 fingers here and just drag up from the bottom, and that will bring us back to the home screen here. I could also take 3 fingers and just kind of scroll through my different apps that are running here. So that has a lot of Mac-like functionality and some things that you can also do on the iPad screen as well. If I pull all the way back here, I can get all of the running apps currently. And again, a lot of these gestures don't work on the third-party trackpads at the moment, and I really hope they make some changes to allow that, because it really is a much, much better experience here with the more expensive Apple device. And the problem you run into is when you're on a low-cost iPad, it's kind of a hard thing to justify spending almost as much on your peripherals as you are on your device itself. So I'm hoping they do what they did with some of their Pencil devices by allowing people to license some of the technology so that you can get lower cost devices out there, especially for students who might need some of these gestures for doing their work. One thing I forgot to show you that does work on both trackpads is that when you select an area of text, you can move it around, and it gives you a very precise drop point here. But again, the precision just feels better here on the Apple trackpad, just because they have made the experience better for their own products. So, all right, we're going to cut there. That's 3, 2, 1. So there you go. After all of these years, we can now finally use a mouse on an iPad without having to do any kind of trickery. You just 3, 2, 1. So there you go. You can now use a mouse on an iPad without having to do anything else. Just connect it up after you update to iPad OS 13.4, and you've got mouse control now, and you can do all the things that you would normally do on a computer, but now on your iPad, and I think it's going to help out a lot of students this week. Again, I hope we see some lower cost options for getting all of these gestures to work properly. I was kind of bummed that something as simple as pinch to zoom is not working on any of the third-party trackpads that I have tried with my iPads today. So hopefully that will be something we see in the future. But right now, it's a great way to get full computer functionality to your low-cost iPads for your kids. And if you haven't installed the update, do it, because you will gain some great functionality here for no cost, and I think it will make life a little bit easier as we're all caught here working inside right now. So that's going to do it for this one. Until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching. I think that was a good outro. What do you think? Lewis is here. Welcome. Lewis is asking, what other accessories do I recommend for the iPad? So I have not many. You know what I did get, I'll show you my iPad Pro that I use. So this is my personal iPad, and I got the official Apple keyboard, which of course I paid a fortune for. And I am going to get the new one. I think the new one looks pretty cool. If for no other reason, it's at least it'll be a good video. So I use that quite a bit, but I don't have many accessories. I don't use much. Actually, what I was going to stream today, which I'll probably stream tomorrow or the next day, is I got a dock for the iPad Pro that just kind of attaches to the side, and it's kind of like a USB-C hub that plugs into your iPad. It has a card reader and some USB ports and stuff, so that's something I'll be taking a look at in the next couple of days. So that one's something to keep an eye on. But yeah, beyond that, I don't use many accessories with my iPads. What I did get for the kids, and I have this, if you go onto the Amazon link, you'll see it. We've got a bunch of cases that I have linked, I think, on, here it is. These are called the SUP cases, S-U-P. And this is my daughter's iPad. This is the prior low-cost one from last year. And what I like about this one is that it doesn't cost all that much for the case. It's got the screen protector, and it's actually been really good at keeping these iPads from getting cracked and broken. These kids they regularly drop these on concrete, and they've been working just fine. So that's something I would look at. Another thing that I got because I'm always capturing the screen, is I got the Lightning to HDMI adapter, and this works with my phone and my iPads. So whenever I'm capturing video, I'm using this. And what's cool about it is that there's also an additional Lightning port on there to charge the iPad while you're using it. Because if you are mirroring the screen, that consumes a lot of power. So that's something to look at. I used to do the Apple TV AirPlay thing, but it's just better to have a direct connection all the time. I think that works a lot better. So that's another accessory that I've got. But that's it. Yeah, I don't do too much with them. I did do a video on all of these Apple Pencil alternatives. So for example, there's the Logitech Crayon, which is about half the price of the Apple Pencil. And then there's another one from Adonit that we looked at that's even lower cost than the Crayon. So there are some good Apple Pencil alternatives. And what's nice about the low-cost iPads now, these things are a bargain. They're like, right now, so this one I paid $249 for. This is the 10-inch one, or the 9.7 or whatever. The new one is 10.2, and it's $279, but you get full pencil support. The new one, the new 10.2, works with the prior generation iPad Pro keyboard and the pencil. So you get kind of what was a Pro 3 or 4 years ago, you get now in the entry-level model. And we reviewed it not too long ago, so you could check out that review. I have the keyboard and the pencil and demoed all of it together. So I mean, what a value. And I've really, what's been amazing is I've been watching what we've been doing with these iPads this week, just because, of course, we're doing a lot of remote learning. And the versatility of this, to go from being an entertainment device, so she's watching her YouTube stuff on it in the morning, and then it transitions into her computer for educational purposes. She's drawing on it. She's been learning the piano. We got a piano app for her, and she's been using that with this. So this thing is kind of like this modular thing that suddenly can do whatever you need it to do. My wife is doing workouts in the morning, and they're doing Zoom meetings for the workouts with her trainer on the iPads. My daughter's in karate, so she's on a Zoom meeting for karate with this thing. So it's become kind of like the hub of all of the day's learning activities. And the battery life, I feel like I'm selling this thing, but the battery life on these iPads is amazing. Like, it just goes all day. They just work, and these cases have been, I mean, for the money, the case has been great. I had a really expensive OtterBox case before on my last generation of iPads. I don't know if the one, I don't know where I put it, but the iPad minis that I had in those cases got smashed to bits. These cases have really done their job. I couldn't be happier with these. And they've got a built-in stand. The stand gets snapped off all the time. It goes right back on. It's been really good. So these have been working out great for us. So you could really get going for under $300 and get your kid a computer that runs all the apps that they use at school. Everybody's supporting this with their own apps. So Google Classroom's working on here, Google Meet and Zoom, all that stuff just works on this thing. It's been really, really good. So Apple's really, I think, done a really good job with these. And the iPad Pro, it's so underutilized. And the new one comes out, I think, tomorrow, the new Pro. And I'm not getting it just because I just don't see a need. I mean, this one is still they haven't yet tapped the power that's inside of this thing. I think with the right software, this would rival probably one of the entry-level MacBooks, with the right software and the right optimization. And it's so thin. It's like you got the Star Trek computer. It's just great. So the new one, I think the big difference is they've got a slightly faster processor. They have some laser thing for augmented reality applications. It's gotta be kind of fun, but I don't know. And then a better camera. But I don't see any reason. If you've got the Pro from last year, stick with it. It's not going to get much better. And the new keyboard works with this. So that new keyboard they just released for who knows how much money will work with the existing Pro. So you don't need to get a new Pro if you want that keyboard. Lewis wants to know about Apple Arcade. I tried it. The problem is I have so many game things that I'm doing. I have so many games to play that I haven't played that I haven't even looked at it too much. I did sign up for the trial. I downloaded a few games. I'm not a big fan of the mobile games, so there's a lot of the mobile kind of games that are kind of fun pick up and play things, but there's a lot more on my Switch that I like to play. But there was a good selection. I don't think it's that expensive. It's worth trying it for the trial to see if it's something that you want to do. So I would give it a shot and see how it's working. The good thing is that there's no upsell anywhere. So if the game is working and has features that are normally in the paid version, you get the whole thing in the Apple Arcade. So that's been pretty good. I think it does have a future. I would keep an eye on what they're doing with the Apple TV, because I think that's where they have some opportunities, because if they take the processor that's in here, they've got something that rivals, I think, the current generation of consoles, and Apple kind of controls the stack, so it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility that they might be able to come close to what we're going to see on some of the higher end stuff soon. So they could do really well with that model on a TV if they sell enough Apple TVs. Eric St. Pierre wants to know, if they announce an ARM MacBook, would you get that? Absolutely. If I had a choice between an ARM Mac like this little Mac 12-inch that I have, I love this thing. This is the original from 2015. I love it. It is so lightweight. If it was more powerful with an ARM processor, again, optimized for certain applications, I would be all over that. Can you imagine like a really good battery life little MacBook that would go 12 hours? Totally. Because this MacBook has been really, I use it a lot. And Spectre Scully wants to know, are you going to play the new Half-Life game? Yeah, in fact, I booted it up last night. And because what happened was I put my daughter to bed, and I was like, all right, I got 10 minutes before I got to really get her sleeping. So I figured I would just boot it up real quick. I was blown away by it. Now, you all know I bought myself a 2080 Ti just because I was shopping for a card, and I'm like, what, just get the top of the line for once in your life. So I did. And I'm glad I got it, because I am amazed at the visual fidelity in Half-Life Alyx. I don't know what they did, but the frame rate is solid. The fidelity of what I'm looking at is super sharp. I've got the Vive Pro headset, so that's one of the higher, it's the higher resolution Vive headset. I was amazed by it. I mean, the detail on the objects when you look closely at them, just remarkable. And there was no reprojection going on. It's very well optimized, and I'm sure it's optimizing for the card that you're using. But my 2080 Ti, I've been kind of disappointed with some of the VR titles that I've run on it that just don't, they're doing better than they were before on my 1080, but they're not a lot better visually. No Man's Sky is a great example, like a totally underperforming game that should be doing better. Half-Life Alyx, amazing. And I haven't had time to play a lot with it, but I plan to play a little bit more. And maybe I'll do a stream with it. That might be kind of fun, because I was really impressed with what they've put together. The immersion, Valve, they really like VR, like they're into it, and they're putting money into it, even though they know it's not going to result in an immediate return. Because to really play that game, you got to have the hardware. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, so maybe I'll do a stream up there when I've got some time. So tonight I'm going to be doing a live stream of a different sort, not to this channel, but as you know, I'm on my school board, and this is the time of the year that we're getting our budgets together. So normally we have a meeting at town hall with the finance board. Tonight we've got to do it all virtually, and I'm going to try to stream it out to the town's Facebook page. So we'll see how that goes. Give it a shot, because right now we are barred from having meetings with more than 10 people. So we will have to do that all virtually, and it's been a challenge to get everything working, but we got to keep people safe, so that's what we're doing. So yeah. All right, so I got to get ready for that meeting, because I have to set up my equipment upstairs. I've got to figure out how to get stuff to stream. They're using Zoom. So what's cool about Zoom is that it will broadcast to a number of different platforms via RTMP as part of what its built-in functionality allows. But I've got to figure all that out in about an hour and a half. So that's my next track. But yeah, maybe I'll do a live stream on Half-Life Alyx. We'll just kind of play it and see how it goes. Maybe I'll get Smoke Monster in there. I was on his VR stream the other night. He goes all out. He's got a smoke machine and all sorts of cool stuff. So mine don't look as cool. Actually, you know what he did is he has a black light, and he put this really cool red strip on the front of his Oculus Quest headset, so he looks like something out of Tron. It's really, really cool looking. Travis Rhodes suggests maybe doing some folding at home with that GPU and make a video. I should look into that too. I was looking at maybe running some kind of folding at home thing when my computers were idle. So yeah, so that's it for now. So I got to get back to some stuff here. I want to thank the Amazon viewers for tuning in. I apologize for the very disjointed shoot today. It was just this was all last minute, and I wanted to get it out while it was still fresh in my head. So thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back again soon in this very spot. So thank you to the Amazon folks, and I will see all of my YouTube friends in a little bit too. Have a couple of people to thank though. Cedar Lake for a super chat contribution, and Travis Rhodes for becoming a new member here on the channel. So thank you both for your contributions, and I will catch you all soon. And William's just talking about how in Austin they can't even go outside their homes. Yeah, this thing happens in clusters, right? So when you've got a cluster happening, you gotta get everybody away from each other just to slow it down, because it's for most people it's fine. It's just for those that aren't, who have pre-existing conditions, it could be really really dangerous. So all right, we'll finish that off there. All right, thank you everybody. Rich Wilson says, Zoom needs a filter so that all the school board members can appear like the council on the 70s Superman movie. You can actually, so what's neat about Zoom is they have the ability to pull you out of your background, so you could actually do that. I don't know if you could put yourself in that flat thing that was floating through space or whatever, but you can do that. It's pretty cool. Maybe I'll do a video on Zoom. I should probably do that. How to get your Zoom thing to work too. I may try that. All right, I'm going to cut it off for now. I will see you all tomorrow likely, and I'm going to see if I can get this video up tonight or tomorrow too. All right, see you in a little bit.